What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, and things seem to be moving here at Tottenham Hotspur. 13th of January, 2 here we goes already. 13 days into the transfer window. Obviously, Brennan Johnson has gone as well. So we've got an action-packed stream for you guys, going through Tottenham transfer news, stories, and also we've got a very special guest to bring on very, very soon regarding the protests this weekend against West Ham. So we're going to take a deep dive into that as well. But yeah, me and Sim, we were out last night doing karaoke with everyone involved in the channel and our sister channels and everything like that. We're on a belated Christmas do, and we got the news. Yeah, we got the news of Conor Gallagher here. It kind of like it just went so quickly, didn't it? Because we did that update earlier in the day, being like Villa are front runners to go get Conor Gallagher, and suddenly we look at our phones. Here we go.
We arrive at karaoke. We get the latest update when we arrived at karaoke. We literally, as we're walking in the karaoke booth, is Gallagher's going to choose Villa over Spurs, even though Spurs are coming back in for him. And by the end of the session, we had the here we go. We just couldn't believe what was going on. Yeah. We're like, oh god, we're going to have to do a video. Let's just get a drink first. And it was it absolutely escalated crazily. Yeah, what a shock to the system that was, but incredible for in terms of how that escalated. There's been a lot of discourse online about the signing, which we'll go into. I think there's a lot of pros and cons you have to say to this transfer, but I think for me, just on a baseline, I'm pretty happy to get him in.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think it's majority positive, getting someone like Conor Gallagher, and I think what it does is it just raises the level of our midfield, in my opinion. And look, we can all talk about here profiles this, profiles that, and obviously we want a high volume pass to someone that can dictate the tempo of play and really progress us up the pitch. However, Conor Gallagher is an upgrade on what we've got. So if you upgrade on what you got, I don't think you can complain too much.
Yeah, I think so as well. But it's a trap we always fall into, isn't it?
What, upgrading?
No, just signing players that aren't exactly what we need and get someone happy, and then by the end of in a 6 months time, we'll be like, well, we still need that player, and it's happened so many times.
It's true. But look, let's start off with a Tottenham update. And first up, we're going to talk about Fabio Paratici, as The Athletic have done an article on him over the last few hours. And they say that Fabio Paratici's first official spell lasted just under 2 years. His second will last just over 3 months. If Paratici hoped he would have total autonomy and control, that was never on offer. He did not think that Thomas Frank was the right fit, but the position of the hierarchy supporting Frank has been very clear in recent weeks. If Paratici thought he was getting total control, he should have known what he was walking into with the new structure. So that doesn't sound great, does it? Paratici's walked in. He never wanted Frank in the first place, appointed him anyway, and here we are.
Did Fabio appoint him? Well, not officially, I guess.
No. Fabio didn't appoint him himself. Obviously, it's a committee, and we know that he was an advisor.
Yeah, he was consultant.
He was an advisor of that committee.
But it's, how many times has Frank banged on? We're in total alignment. I'm in alignment with the hierarchy. There's all the people between him and the people at the top level, that everyone's on the same page. Well, clearly not, because Fabio didn't want him. This thing's a whole mess. Did Fabio not know the parameters of his job and exactly what he's going to be dealing with?
Doesn't seem like it.
Because he's joined, and now all of a sudden he's saying, "Oh, I thought I'd have more control." Well, was that not laid out to you before you signed on and agreed to be our long-term sporting director? The whole thing seems to be an absolute mess at the top, and now we're trusting in Vinay and Lang with Fabio leaving. Their knowledge and whatever is up for question, I think. When it comes to Vinay, obviously, look, he did a good job at Arsenal, but he backed his guy through thick and thin. And whether it's the right thing to do with Thomas Frank is very much up for debate. And also, there's a lot of people at Arsenal, if you talk to Arsenal fans, who were fairly happy to see him go, to be honest, when he did. Lang, there's a lot of question marks about him. Villa seem to be flying at the moment. When he was there, it wasn't exactly the case. So there's a lot of question marks about Johan Lang and whether he's the right guy to head any future. As well, Lang already had that role when Fabio wasn't here, we've now scaled back what he was doing because I don't know whether we were not happy enough with his job and we felt like we needed Fabio to come in and do exactly what we needed, and Lang's roles changed to dealing with younger players. And now Fabio's going, so Lang is now back in that role for the time being, unless we find a replacement, doing a job that we weren't happy with him doing.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is a mess at the moment. It's complete. It seems like chaos up there.
Absolutely, it really does. And in terms of the Fabio thing and him not wanting Frank, maybe they also looked at it being like, well, you made a bit of a pig's ear out of the last few managerial appointments that you made, and maybe they had no trust in his kind of opinions on who the manager should be.
Well, what's the point in being here then?
Yeah,
if that's the case.
Well, the point of him being might have been player related.
I get that, but he's our sporting director. Who's making the decision? If his opinion doesn't hold any value. Look, for me, I completely get that managerial-wise, the last managerial search before Nuno, when he was heading that, was an absolute disaster. No getting two ways about it. And we ended up with Nuno, which was a disaster in itself, and we ended up ending that after a couple of months, and we ended up getting Conte, which obviously was a good appointment at the time then, but I definitely get why there's reservations about, from a fan's perspective anyway, look from the outside looking in, about who Fabio wants as manager, because he wanted Gattuso as well. We nearly got Fonseca, and then Fonseca, I think, was one who pulled out, whatever, that fell through at the time. So I think there's rumours that he wanted Igor Tudor to come in. Whether he's the right guy for us, I don't really know his history, but I know he had a very short stint at Juve. Didn't go quite.
I think the
too well
Igor
for him.
Tudor thing was an interim role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whether he wanted him as an interim to replace Frank, and whether that's a good appointment for Tottenham, I don't know. But the fact that we have a sporting director in charge of our football club who doesn't want the current manager in charge is a horrible, horrible look, and it's not good for anyone. And as well, it completely makes Frank look like a laughingstock when he's basically saying in every press conference we have total alignment, when that's completely not true. And now we're seeing that being reported, and now Fabio's leaving. So where is this total alignment that you keep
I tell you what,
there
probably is perfect alignment now that Fabio's gone.
Now that Fabio, maybe that's, to be fair, in the past couple of the last press conference, he did leave out Fabio's name.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
I didn't notice
when he
that.
said we've got alignment with Johan and Vinay and myself, and so maybe that was purposeful. Maybe that, that's why. Obviously, whenever he's brought up Fabio, he keeps saying, I talk to him regularly, blah blah blah. We talk about transfers. But yeah, I think it makes those statements look a laughingstock. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that's brought up to him in a press conference and he gets asked about that, and what kind of answer does he give when? Imagine you're a journalist. You're asking Frank. Well, Fabio reportedly didn't want you, and you were saying there's total alignment. What do you have to say about that? What is his response to that? You can't really say anything.
Well, what's he going to say? He's going to say, "Oh, there are rumours flying around the press all the time. I don't really take too much notice of them." That's what he'll say.
That's all he can say. But it's a horrible question to be put at you, basically saying that one of the people above you who you need to trust.
And he'll go on after that, and he'll repeat his words, won't he? He'll repeat and say, "Well, me, Johan, and Vinay were in total alignment."
Yeah,
that's what he will say.
But thinking about the club as a whole, I think fans are very right to be skeptical about Johan, Vinay, and now Frank heading up our footballing department, and them being given the keys to what our future. I think there's a lot of reasons to be sceptical about that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the club looks a complete mess, top to bottom. And that's been highlighted even more now with this article on Fabio, and also Fabio leaving to go to Fiorentina.
And he's found a bird. Exactly. I think
that's just a big excuse. It's such bollocks.
Maybe it's just about he's easily had his head turned to the fact he doesn't want Frank. Absolutely brilliant stuff there. But yeah, look.
Only at Tottenham this stuff comes out. No other club, man. I'm telling you, this is absolute madness.
But as well, it just goes to show about Frank's job, in a sense, as much as he's safe now, when you've already got one guy who doesn't believe he should be there. That's gonna that means that doubt is gonna seep into the other guys very quickly if it isn't already. Which I assume there probably is some doubt already. I would assume, although we haven't heard it. But
yeah, reports suggest that the boardroom is split on Thomas Frank. I don't know how true they are or not true, but that's what
Fabio
the rumours are saying.
That?
Probably, yeah. but a split suggests to me more than just one person.
Yeah. So, doesn't look good for him, I would say.
Look, we'll have to see how it progresses, but it looks as though the key decision makers, who are Lang and Vinay, are the ones that want to stick behind him. So it looks as though they are going to back their man.
But from your point of view, if Fabio was saying get rid of him, and that's part of the reason why he left, and now he's leaving and we're relying on Vinay and Lang, like most fans would have said, I'd rather Fabio stayed than the other two left.
I probably would agree with that, to be honest. I think that Fabio is obviously a football man, all the contacts he has in the game. I was excited about the prospect of him coming back and really, becoming a bigger decision maker at the club. Obviously, that wasn't the case, and he wasn't given the control which maybe some suggested or thought he was going to get. And Thomas Frank has done nothing to suggest to me that he's the long-term answer for this football club. So I would have preferred it. If I had to pick a side, I'm picking Paratici's side, yeah.
Although I would say about Fabio, he does seem absolutely obsessed with Serie A. That's like where his main knowledge comes from. Like, I would like to see him expand to other leagues. But anyway, look, he's gone. He's gone anyway. It doesn't really matter.
And Lang is obsessed with 19-year-olds.
Yeah, absolutely. has to be a teenager, otherwise they're not coming.
Yeah. But look, let's move on and let's talk about Rodrigo Bentancur. We know that he's going to be out for at least 3 months. The club have officially confirmed now that he has undergone surgery on his right hamstring, and they've basically confirmed the surgery, so he's going to be out for a while. Yeah,
which is a massive blow for him. I feel for him so much, like on a personal level, just because of the injury problems we know he's had. Every season, he's had that ACL. He comes back. The first game he's ruled out for, I think it was like 2 to 3 months with a bad challenge from Matt Cash. He then comes back again. This next season, I think on day one, he had the concussion, didn't he, against Leicester? That ruled him out for a few weeks. And then he comes back, he gets banned for 7 games because of stupid remarks, horrible remarks he made in an interview, like in Uruguay. He then comes back from that. Then I believe he then had another concussion against Liverpool. And then he came back, and now he's got this big 3-month injury again in the following season with his hamstring. The guy can't catch a break. I really feel for him. Not to say that he's been perfect or he's been amazing this season or since he's come back from his ACL. I think we can all agree he hasn't reached the heights, unfortunately, that he had pre-ACL, which has been hard to watch in itself. There have been some good signs this season, but also just some horrible inconsistency. So that's been frustrating. But I feel for him. I really obviously hope he has a speedy recovery. Obviously, we made the decision to sign him up to a new contract, and people have been questioning that decision even before this injury. I wonder in the summer if he does come back this season. Do we look to cash in on him? Now with Gallagher coming in, that's a good replacement for him, I would say. So I think that probably does make sense if we do get a good offer for Rodrigo. But we'll probably have, at this point, going to have to take a cut price fee, I would say.
Yeah, but look, it is what it is. At the end of the day, we didn't sign him for too much, so I still think we can probably break even or make profit on him. We signed him for like 15 million, that time under that January under Conte. So I still think we can get like 20, 25 million for him.
Yeah.
A team in Italy maybe or somewhere else. But look, the reality is with Rodrigo Bentancur, I think we all know when he's at his best, he's an unbelievable football player. But he's just way too inconsistent, and we just can't get him. It's always one game up, one game down with Bentancur. And ever since his injury, we've seen flashes, but never seen him consistently back to his best. So, in my opinion, I think it's probably best to cut our losses this summer and just focus on other players. And bringing Bergvall, Gray through, got Conor Gallagher now, and prioritise that that 6 that can really progress the ball up the pitch and dictate the tempo of play. So I think it'll be a positive for us in the end, in my opinion. Next up, let's talk about Will Lankshear, as Ali Gold has been reporting that Spurs have knocked back a couple of bids so far this month for Will Lankshear, as they are happy with his season and he's taken a big leap in his development at Oxford United. Obviously playing with Jamie Donnelly now, trying to rekindle that relationship that they had for the Spurs under-21s. Unfortunately, Jamie Donnelly got injured 15 minutes into his Oxford debut last week in the Cup.
Any news about how bad that is?
No, I haven't heard any reports on it as of yet. But I'm sure that will come out soon. But in terms of Will Lankshear, doing very well for Oxford, banging in the goal, scored again in the FA Cup on the weekend. So I guess that's the right thing, I think, for Spurs to do, just to let him continue that development that he's doing so well so far this season.
Yeah, and he's scoring regularly. How many goals he got? 7?
7 or 8 in all comps, yeah.
Yeah, he just scored in the FA Cup as well in the last round, in the game they won on penalties. So he's becoming a bit of a fan favourite, it seems. And I think at his age, scoring goals regularly in the Championship, getting that amount of goals in the first half of the season is easier said than done. And that goes to show a young striker really developing, and also this is Oxford side aren't exactly top of the tree, are they? They're a struggling side in
relegation,
yeah. So to be scoring goals regularly, even if it's strikers' goals, that's really good, and I think that shows physically he's up for it. He can play at that level. The big fear I think with a lot of players making that leap from academy to proper men's football, especially the Championship, is physically, are they really ready? Because the academy is just a different level physically. That's the biggest jump. I think when it comes to technically and all this kind of other stuff, the gap isn't that big, but when it comes to physically, that's where the main jump is. And the fact that he's able to be competing regularly at that level, scoring goals, is a massive positive. Obviously, it didn't work out for him last year at West Brom, albeit I know some West Brom fans actually quite liked him, but he didn't get a goal, did he? He didn't. I don't think. Maybe he didn't.
He didn't play that much.
Didn't play that much. So I remember some West Brom fans were happy with some cameos he made, but he obviously wasn't getting on the pitch enough.
I think that kind of reaction from Will Lankshear from the West Brom fans came after like the first 2 games he played, and then he was just in and out of the team, didn't really play too much.
Yeah.
After that.
So the fact that he's responded from that, didn't move down a level, decided to stay in the Championship, and now he's getting fairly frequent goals is really a massive positive. And I think if he carries on, if he can get double digits, get into that 15 goal mark, then maybe there's a chance he could come back into the first team potentially even. But I would say I'll try and hit some targets, just have a good end to the season. I think it's working. There's no need to change it for him.
Yeah, I agree. And we've recalled so many players from loans so far this January, and we've got to realise that when something's working, just let it keep working. And I think they've done that. So credit to them.
Just a quick one on Donnelly. The manager said it looks nasty, and he's got a shoulder injury.
Oh, God.
So let's just hope it's not a bad one. I can see he got stretchered off as well. So let's hope doesn't rule him out for too long, but it's not great on his after 15 minutes. Yeah.
Let's talk about Mathys Tel now. We know there's constant rumours about Matty about potentially going out on loan in this January. Florian Plettenberg says that Paris FC are working on a loan move for Tel. Their main selling point is offering him a preferred position as a striker. The core of his frustration is not only his lack of playing time, but above all the fact that he's rarely used as a number 9. Tottenham are still blocking every inquiry for now, as they want to keep Tel at the club. I mean, I don't really get that. I mean, I know we heard before he joined Tottenham that his favoured position is number 9, and that's where he sees himself. But for me, whenever I see him play, he looks a lot better out on the left-hand side, and that's his position. And I don't think he's a number 9.
He has been playing majority in the 9 as well. I don't really understand that complaint. Last season, the majority of when we saw him was in the 9 because we had those injuries up front. And when he first came, he was pretty much just playing up front, albeit in a mishmash team, very tired, struggling with fatigue, whatever. I think near the end of the season, we saw him a bit on the left. This season, again, the first time when he first came into the team, he was up front. I remember that Leeds game, played up front. At Villa at home, I think he played up front. When he came against Man United, he played up front. So up until the last 3 games, I think the last 3 games is the first we've seen him on the left, pretty much this season. So I don't really understand that complaint from him.
But I think when you're looking at the kind of makeup of the squad, his natural fit is on the left-hand side, and that's probably what he's looking at.
Yeah, which is true.
We've got strikers. We've got obviously Richarlison's injured, but he's been there all season. We've got Solanke coming back now. We've got Kolo Muani. So when you're looking at Tel and when he's looking at the squad, he sees that, well, the only real minutes I'm going to get is probably off the left now. That
is true. So when he's looking at that situation, if he's thinking, I want more minutes up front, I don't think you're going to be getting at.
But I think it's right not to give him minutes up front. He looks so much more dangerous on the left-hand side.
For me, his 3 best performances in a Spurs shirt have been these run of games when he's been regularly played on the left. So I don't really understand why he would be unhappy with that and what is the problem there, because I think he's playing well. He's looking a lot better on the left when he's got more space than he was up front. He seems to struggle up front, like physically a bit, I think, when it comes to holding the ball up, when he's got big, strong centre-backs, trying to win the ball off him from behind, and he's got to protect the ball. it's difficult for him, it seems, to really hold on to the ball in a lot of those situations. I think when he's up against fullbacks and he's got space on out wide, he seems a lot more comfortable there, and when he's running at players as well. So that's a bit peculiar to me. I really hope that isn't true. But anyway, regardless of that, I just don't think we can let him go, regardless. And as long as he's happy to play out wide for now, I think we got to keep him.
Yeah, and I don't see why he wouldn't be happy to play out wide. He's a young player in development mode. Obviously, he thinks himself a number 9, but he does hold a lot of value on the left. So once you're a player developing, no matter where you see yourself in the future, surely you just grab any kind of minutes possible, no matter where they are.
I think down the line, he could be a 9, like maybe when he gets into his mid-20s and he's a bit more, physically robust and he's got that hold-up play about him. I actually think he could be a good 9, but right now, I just don't think he's at the level yet to be a good 9. I think he's much more comfortable out wide.
Yeah, the other players that we have in the number 9 are far ahead of him, in my opinion. And when you're looking at the left-hand side, he's probably one of the better ones that we've got. So that's where he's showing value to the team right now. And I think he should stick with it, because I think he's onto a good thing right now, and he should just keep riding that wave of momentum.
And also, from his point of view, if he's really thinking about that World Cup squad, if he's playing regularly left wing for us, surely he's going to be, and he's playing well, that's going to stand him in higher stead than playing up front for Paris FC, I would say. Depending on how well he does, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes to Paris and plays in the number 9 from now to the end of the season, hits 10 goals or something, he might come into the reckoning. But look, I think this whole World Cup talk is so fanciful about Mathys Tel. Look at the quality that they've got in that squad. Barring a crazy injury crisis, he ain't getting in that World Cup squad, however he plays, in my opinion.
Oh, unless he completely smashes it.
Yeah, if you're talking world-class level form, fine. But this guy is a young player coming through. Look at the players he has ahead of him. It's just crazy.
It's a tough ask.
All right.
Was Zaha after Mateta for saying he can get in the
yeah, 3 years before he got into it. Let's talk about Magnus Akliouche, because Alistair Gold says that Tottenham have held a long-time interest in Monaco attacker Magnus Akliouche. It is understood that Monaco are now looking for players in his position in case he does depart anywhere in this month or in the summer. That's quite interesting. I think that when you're looking at Akliouche, I think in the long term, I don't think it makes much sense because of the players that we have, obviously the injured players. But in the short term, I think he'll be unbelievable. Look, I think he'll be unbelievable for us in the long term as well. But then, obviously, other players come into question. But right now, we kind of do need him. Yeah,
obviously with the Kudus situation, Johnson leaving, Decky doesn't look like he's close to coming back at the moment. We could definitely do with Magnus Akliouche at this football club, and he would obviously come straight into the team, and he's a very good player. Again, I agree. I think over the long term, we have Kudus, we have Decky, and they're very similar in a sense to what Akliouche brings, especially Decky. Very similar to the quality of Akliouche and the type of player he is. Albeit, I think Akliouche is a bit more nimble, and he's a bit more of a playmaker, whereas Decky's more of a battering ram, isn't he? He's a bit more physical, and he's more of a runner rather than Akliouche. He's a bit more of a tiki-taka kind of player. But in terms of the role they'll play in the squad, it's fairly similar. So in a way, it's fairly similar to Gallagher in terms of the profile. Is it exactly what we need? Maybe not. Does it raise the quality of the squad? And is he a player that comes in immediately and becomes our best right winger? Yeah, probably right now. So from that point of view, I'm not going to say no to Akliouche. And I think he's a brilliant player. And the fact of the matter is, we do need a right winger right now. So who am I to say no to Akliouche? But again, is it the perfect kind of signing? If you're in a dream world and you're like, this is the kind of player we need right now, would it be Akliouche? Probably not. But I'm not going to say no to him, that's for sure. I'm not as well. But again, when are we going to start talking about and thinking about the squad and getting the profiles that we need? Yeah, we don't do that, Tottenham. It's crazy, isn't it? Squad building at this football club just seems to be so wrong. So wrong. But look, again, like you mentioned, absolutely spot on in terms of raising the quality of the squad. All right. Next up, we are going to talk about Conor Gallagher.
as Ornstein says that Conor Gallagher is expected to fly to England today to undergo a medical, finalise details for a long-term contract at Tottenham, which is believed to be 5.5-year contract at Tottenham. Matt Law says that Frank made a personal call to Conor Gallagher to convince the midfielder to join Tottenham and not hold out a move for Aston Villa. Frank helped clinch the deal for Tottenham by speaking to Gallagher personally and convincing him the move was right, despite this team's struggles this season. And Matt Law also went on to say that Conor Gallagher's representatives are believed to have spoken to former Spurs coach Ange Postecoglou as many as 8 occasions, but Daniel Levy wasn't keen to push the transfer through. So look, I know we've been chasing Gallagher for some time now. It looks as though we finally got our man.
The Daily Gallagher.
But
for a long time.
Seems like it's going to come to an end soon, but the Thomas Frank pull.
The Thomas Frank pull. One call from Frank and he was on the plane.
It feels like we see this about every single player we sign, no matter who our manager is.
I think the extra 10 million, I think, probably was enough pull, I would say, that we bid, to be honest. Look, I think every player probably chats to the manager before they sign. I don't think it's like a surprise, to be honest. Just like when Ange would chat to players, as much as we make a whole thing about the Ange pool, every player probably chats to the manager beforehand. I think the main thing is we put in a permanent bid of exceeding what Villa, I think, what Villa's obligation to buy was. So I think Atletico turned down their bid, accepted ours, and told Gallagher, obviously, basically it's Tottenham or nothing. We got ahead of the competition in that way. I don't think it's a case of we convinced him to come here over Villa. I think it's just a case of we had a better bid.
I thought yesterday the reports were that Aston Villa and Atletico had a club-to-club agreement.
Yeah, until we came in.
And then they rejected their agreement.
I'm assuming that's what I think so. That's what I assume happened, because they would have wanted a permanent bid. Villa only offered a loan with an option to buy, I believe, or maybe an obligation. But I think that obligation to buy was a lot less than what we were prepared to pay. So I think when we came in with here's a permanent transfer, money on the table, more than what Villa are willing to offer, Atletico probably said, all right, unless Villa can match our offer, we're going to accept your offer. That's what I think happened. In my opinion. This is what me reading into the situation. But I don't know the exact facts, but I think that's probably what happened. I don't think it's a case of they accepted both and Gallagher chose. I don't think that's what happened. I think they probably rejected Villa's bid at that point and said, you're going to Spurs, essentially, unless you reject them, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we haven't heard anything to that kind of...
That's what makes sense to me. That's what makes sense to me.
Yeah, it might do, but there also could be a case of Spurs were offering more money. He wanted to move back down to London, or back to London. There could have been so many different factors going into it, but we never heard at all that Villa's bid got rejected or anything like that. We have
heard that we've bid more, so that would mean that's a better offer.
Yeah, but we never heard that Villa's bid got rejected.
Why bid more if it's not? Why not just match Villa's bid then?
Well, what was Villa's bid?
It was a loan with an option to buy, I believe.
What was the option?
I don't know. I think less than what we're paying.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah,
I'm not so sure about that.
Sure about that.
But anyway, the reality is he's coming, it looks like, although we have seen Here We Goes before and not got them over the line. But the medical seems to be today. I imagine if it all goes smoothly, then an announcement at some point this week.
I've definitely read we've bid 10 million more than what Villa have.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
That's what I've read. Seen that. Anyway, yeah, so the medical happening today. We know he's a very physically robust player. Belly gets injured, so I'm assuming the medical will go swimmingly, albeit we are cursed with players with great injury records coming to Tottenham and that changing. So I think when it comes to this, I'm happy with the deal. I think it's a good signing. I'm happy to add him to our midfield. I think we definitely need an upgrade, especially with Bentancur injury. I think that's obviously sparked us into signing this kind of midfielder. Not just the number 6 deep line, which we definitely need, but we also need this kind of midfielder now as well, because with this long-term Bentancur injury. So it's no surprise. Is it a panic buy, would you say? But
yeah,
maybe.
For sure. 100%.
But it is a long-term target on the flip side as well.
It's a long-term target, yes, but it's definitely a panic buy. 100% a panic buy. I don't think we go in for him unless Bentancur gets injured.
Yeah, that's probably true as well. So I understand that. But I think maybe we did need to panic a bit, given our situation.
We did. We needed to bring in a midfielder, 100%. And I think he raises the level of the squad. I'm happy with the signing. Does it Does it fix a lot of our problems that we've been complaining about this season? Probably not. But I think he's a player that comes in and he's one of the better midfielders, if not the best midfielder.
As you say, when he was at Chelsea under Poch, much sought after, obviously Atletico came in for him for a reason. He was he was really good. Although there was a big debate even when he was at Chelsea. What is his best position? Because he was played in the 10, he was played in the 8, even played in the 6 sometimes.
I think his best position's an 8.
That's what it was to tell me. That's what I read.
He's a box-to-box player, in my opinion.
That's what I think. But he was sometimes played like a high-pressing number 10 position, which I can see definitely Frank doing that with him sometimes if need be, because I think Frank would love him in that position. Someone in the 10 who's really aggressive and non-stop running and can cover the pitch. I think Frank would love that as well. Would that force Xavi out wide again? If he were to do that, that's something to consider. I do think technically he's better than Sarr, he's better than Bentancur. Physically he's probably better than Bergvall from that point of view. So I think there's a lot of things he has over our current set of midfielders, and he's kind of like a jack of all trades. I would say he had, apart from his stamina and his aggression, does he have an elite quality outside of that? I'm not 100% sure. He's kind of like good at a lot of things, but not very good at anything. And I think that's maybe why hasn't quite worked at Atletico, because when you look at their midfielders, they're super, a lot of them are super aggressive, but they're also very technical as well. So when you're looking, when it comes to Gallagher, is he at the technical level of some of these Atletico midfielders? Maybe not, which is maybe why he hasn't quite worked there. But when he was at Chelsea, I think it maybe was a young side. Obviously, Poch is known for his pressing game, and Gallagher kind of fitted into that because he is such a good presser. He's one of probably the best pressers there is in the league, and that was something that that was really appreciated. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits into this Tottenham side. I think logically, under Frank, should it work? Yes, I think, because he has a physical profile to work under it. And should it work, should we replace Frank? Yes, depending on who the manager is. If we're looking for a manager,
I think this is Pochettino's first signing as new Spurs manager.
If Poch comes in, I think if Poch comes in, he would love to have Gallagher. If we're getting in a manager who's maybe a bit more focused on a possession-based team, there might be some doubts about it. But I still think he should work. So I still think he's not a terrible passer as much as he's not an elite passer either way as well. I think his passing game, his numbers at Chelsea passing-wise were quite good, but Atletico, they've not been great. And there must be a reason for that. Maybe it's the manager, maybe it's Simeone's hacks, as they call it. But under Poch, his progressive passes were quite good, but they were quite a fast, direct, vertical team. Maybe under Atletico, they're a bit different. It's hard to know why exactly it hasn't worked out, because I thought in his first season they quite liked him, but it seems like this season it's just gone wrong.
As well, like a lot of the time they've kind of played him out off the left as well for Atletico, and it's just kind of like they've just trying to fit him in somewhere, and it just hasn't.
I saw a journalist call in. I can't remember which program it was, but he was a Spanish journalist, and he said that from his point of view, it's not a case of Gallagher not playing well when he's been in the team. It's more that there's just been better players ahead of him, and he found it hard. That's what he said. Now take that as you will. A lot of the Atletico fans who've been commenting on our videos saying they're happy getting the money. They don't think he's all that, to be honest. So
to be fair, we had the same from Juventus fans about Kulusevski and Bentancur.
That's also true. They turned out all right.
They turned out all right for us. So
one thing as well, which I think he provides, which I don't think we have enough, is maybe goals from midfield. I do think he's quite good at arriving late in the box, getting on the end of things, and he's a decent finisher. When he gets in the box, he's got a decent shot on him. So I think when you look at our midfield options, there's not enough of that, I feel, and he probably provides that. I'm not saying he's going to score loads, but between 5 and 10 goals a season he can be getting.
I think that what this signing does is puts massive pressure on the likes of someone like Pape Matar. Does he have a future here now? We've signed Conor Gallagher because they're pretty much the same position and have very similar attributes at times.
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely it put when you have Gray, Sarr, Bergvall there, Bentancur obviously out injured and he'll have to come back. Something's going to have to give there with Gallagher now coming in. We can't have them all.
I think 2 are going to have to leave. Bentancur and one other.
Yeah, which, and I don't know. Obviously, I think Sarr's been here the longest, so logically, maybe if we're not convinced by him, maybe he's the guy to leave. But I would hate to lose Sarr. But I think Bergval's probably is a better player. So
Yeah, look.
So Bergval, I think, is a better player. Gray, is he a better player right now than Sarr? No, but has he got higher potential? Maybe you could argue. I don't know. It's a difficult one.
Yeah, look, I don't think Pape Matar Sarr has developed in maybe the rate that we expected him to develop after what we've seen from him. You know, a couple of years ago, he looked fantastic. You know, he started the season fantastically well this year as well. And he just hasn't been able to keep up any sort of consistency, Pape. So I think they're looking at it as Conor Gallagher probably as a long-term replacement for Pape, in my opinion.
But in terms of Tottenham this season being poor, getting the ball, passing it forward in between the lines, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it doesn't help too much.
Does it help that much?
No, it doesn't help too much.
Am I expecting Tottenham now with Gallagher coming in? Am I expecting a different level of performances for our midfield? Maybe a bit more quality, but I'm not expecting like Tottenham are going to start playing through the centre now. Like that move doesn't represent that. What was interesting is Paul O'Keefe said on the list was Curtis Jones. I don't know if you have that in the article, but
that was my next one. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So we'll get into that then.
But look, by the way, the Romano on the Here We Go thing says Villa agreed to deal with Atletico, but leave the race because player didn't give the final green light, which suggests that he chose Tottenham over Villa.
I think that's Villa putting. Yeah, maybe. I mean, that doesn't sit well with Villa either. I would think that Atletico preferred our offer, so rejected Villa's. That's what I would think. But yeah, look, that's what Romano says. Take him on face value. Maybe he did reject Villa for us.
But look, I am. Look, we'll get into the reactions later, but Chelsea fan reactions. This is brilliant.
Phenomenal.
One of Cobham's finest. Their captain, just before he left, joining Tottenham Hotspur. The thing what I don't like about it is that if he does score against Chelsea, we're speaking about this off air, like, is he not going to celebrate against Chelsea? That just wouldn't sit right with me. Like,
he wouldn't.
No Spurs player should not be able to celebrate against Chelsea. That's just ridiculous.
I just don't think he would.
Yeah. But anyway, let's move on to the last topic of the updating. And as Sim said, Paul O'Keefe said that Curtis Jones was on the list of potential targets for Tottenham Hotspur. He's had a decent season for Liverpool this year. He's probably been one of their better players or most consistent players. Would you take him at Spurs?
Yeah, I would. I like Curtis Jones. I actually think he's the kind of midfielder we actually need. The problem with Curtis Jones is, I would say, physically, he's not like on the level of maybe a Paulinho or even a Gallagher. But what he does give us is what we need, which is a guy who can progress the ball from deep. I think he could be a deep-lying playmaker for us. I don't think he's got like an exceptional long passing range, but I do think his short passing range in between the lines, keeping things ticking over, a midfielder with really good technical ability. I think he could really fit the bill, to be honest. I really like Curtis Jones. I'm a big fan of it. I think he's really underrated. I think he's very, very good technically. I do kind of think, yeah, he's best in like a midfield 3 kind of role. I'm not sure about him in a double pivot, to be honest. I think that there's a question mark there. But I think for me, I think when you're looking at midfielders, in terms of the profile that we need, someone who sits a bit deeper, sets the tone of a game, can really pick out the passes that we need to and play through the centre and pick those areas in between the lines and progress the ball. I think he's right up there, to be honest. I think he's really good. But whether Liverpool would let him go to us is another question.
All right, well, that
You
is...
like him?
I'm undecided on it, to be honest. I like him as a player, but I don't know if he's the answer for that role. I think... I don't know, man. I'm just really undecided on it. Like I said, I like the player, but I just don't. I think we need someone of proper high quality. I think he's high quality, but I'm just not sure if he's good enough to be like, look, you're that guy to really take us onto the next level.
Fair enough.
All right, that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below all your thoughts regarding all the news stories that we have brought you today.